How are you today?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you.
Do you go by John or Jonathan?
John.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I am married, in my mid-30s, and yeah, I've been up in Alaska here for about the last 4 years.
You enjoy it up here?
I do. It reminds me of my homeland of Utah. So yeah, it's great. Love the mountains. Love the outdoors. So it's been great.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you're here today, or what you're hoping to work on?
Yeah. So as much as I love the outdoors and the mountains and things like that, I have a real issue with heights. So go figure. I like climbing in the mountains and everything else, but I just don't like coming up on real steep grades or things like that. And it drives me nuts. Even just in my day-to-day activities, even driving on the road or whatever. Like if I come to an overpass or something I have to go over, I mean, it doesn't. I'm not gonna not drive over the overpass, but I do stop and or don't stop. But there is a moment in my mind where I think, oh crap, I'm going over this unsafe spot with no security on either side, where I can't see the truck rolling over the side of the overpass or whatever. But yeah, I've made it every time so far, so I guess I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, it could make it pretty challenging to be doing outdoorsy things, and it's causing you some stress driving to work and wherever else you're going. Is there any other activities that it hinders you?
Yeah, I mean, everyday things. My wife, she always wants me to hang Christmas lights on the house and stuff, and I do a decent job on the first story and everything below that. So the stairway is nice, and the lawn's decorated, and even like the porch and whatnot. But we live in a 2-story house, and there's no way I'm getting up on the house to hang lights or whatever up on the second story. That's too far for me. And I live right next to the fairgrounds out here, and the kids always get excited and they want us to go to the fair. My wife, she's cool with roller coasters, and I've always told her that that's her job. She takes the kids on the roller coaster, and they always end up dragging me on the Ferris wheel and everything. And I can tolerate that. I don't know if it's because it's slow moving or not, but I hate roller coasters and anything like that's got the heights in it, and sudden movements or twists and turns and upside down just freaks the crap out of me. So.
Okay. Well, just so I can make sure I'm understanding everything that you're saying, it sounds like that your fear of heights is not keeping you from doing most things that you want to do, but there are some things that you avoid that you would like to be able to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Most things that I have to do, I've just gotten over and I do it. But then there's those other things, like I'm never going to be a skydiver. I don't really have any interest to skydive. Things like that. It does kind of maybe bother me a little bit when, like I said, we're at the fair or something like that, or we're out traveling for vacation or something, and the kids see some cool roller coaster or something like that they want to go on, and I'm always like volunteering to hold the purse for the wife and jackets or anything else, because I tell them I'm too cool for it, but I just don't want my kids to know I'm too big of a sissy to get on the roller coaster with them to do that.
Okay. So can you give me a little more about how you feel or what you're thinking when this happens? For instance, if you've ridden a roller coaster or places where it's been a little bit more scary for you.
Yeah, I think the very first time I ever rode a roller coaster type ride, I was, I think, 13 or 14, and my friend, he was a little bigger than me, and he jumped in. He talked me into going, and he jumped in after I did, and they had like this bar with padding on it that drops down and sits down on you. And because he was such a big guy or whatever, like he took all that padding, and I only remember having like one leg actually on the padding. And
pretty scary.
yeah, you know, like the name of the roller coaster was the Ring of Fire, and you know, like I said, for a first time, that probably wasn't the best choice to jump on. And then having him for a riding partner there probably did not help, because the first time the thing went upside down, it stops. And I remember like feeling like I was coming out of the chair, and the one leg was just dangling there because it didn't have any padding to support it. And I was screaming, stop the ride. And of course, nobody is listening to this poor 13-year-old kid screaming for his life. And, you know, went back and forth, you know, 5 times one way and then 5 times the other way. And like, I did not ride another roller coaster for probably, you know, like close to 10 years. And then I went on a ride that was similar to that, called like the Magic Carpet ride. And I got on that thing, and it did the same thing, except we weren't upside down. It just, you know, kept us going the same direction one way and then backwards the other way. And it stops every time in the middle, and before it rotates, you know, backwards or forward, whichever way it started out. And you know, I was riding with my nephew at the time, and he was like 10. And so the roles were kind of reversed. I was the big guy at this point in time, but I was asking him if he was okay. And he's like, why are you asking me if I'm okay? You're the one shaking. And I looked down, and my leg was shaking uncontrollably. I could not get it to stop. And like after that, like I have not been on a ride like that since.
You compensated by avoiding it, basically.
Pretty much.
Is that something you'd like to see changed in the future, or?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's been 10 years, and now my own kids are getting as old as my nephew was that last time that we, you know, went riding. And you know, I can't talk them into riding the little Caterpillar roller coaster anymore. So you know, if I want to hang out and you know, be as cool as their mom, then I'm gonna have to up my game a little bit. So
okay, let me ask you a few questions so I can just kind of scale where you're at. If we're talking about on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being something that you absolutely cannot do, which is it sounds like a roller coaster at this point, right?
mm-hmm.
What else would be on a 10 that you just are not comfortable at all, cannot do it, you'll have a reaction to it?
Like I said, probably climbing up on the house on the second story to hang Christmas lights. That's something I would not, you know, willfully do.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of the situations you brought up is more of a feeling of being out of control and not feeling that you're safe or you're contained.
Yeah.
So what would be a 0 or 1, something that you don't have any reaction to, don't have any fear
of? I do not have any fear of standing on a chair to change out a light bulb in, like, say, the kitchen or you know, a smoke detector battery. I can do that no problem all day long.
Okay, so there's no reaction, there's no increase of heart rate, no leg shaking, no any kind of reaction in that way, no thoughts of falling or danger?
No, like I said, that's something that I do, I guess, maybe like on a daily basis, because, you know, I do climb up and down stairs or whatever, and, you know, it's, you know, if I'm on a ladder, like I was saying, you know, on a chair, it's not a big deal. Even on a ladder, you know, I go out sometimes to my garage and I'll change a light bulb out there, and I have to get up like on the 5th or 6th rung of the stairs. And, you know, once I can make connection with the ceiling again, and I feel that control a little bit and support, it's fine. But that few seconds in between where I'm going from touching the top of the ladder to straightening up to touch the ceiling, that part gets a little hickory, and that's probably amplified more if I'm somewhere like at the mall or something, and I'm looking down, like, I don't know, because I am a curious, you know, individual anyways. And so even though I know I hate heights or whatever, sometimes I'll still kind of like look over and like I wouldn't say it's a 1 or 2. This one's probably more of like a 3 or 4. But if I'm like on the 3rd or the 4th level of the mall, and they've got that little guardrail or whatever that's about waist height or whatever, even though I'm like, oh, maybe I could fall over, you know, if I get too close or bend over too far to look at it. But I still want to like look down to see the bottom.
Curiosity.
And so yeah, I'd say that's more of like a, a 4 or a 5 or something, but it's still something I would do. I just don't drive to the mall every day and go look over the side.
Okay,
But-
so some of the more common activities that you do around the house or things that you need to do, there's been a bit more exposure to it and they're not as scary. It sounds like that you have protective instincts over yourself, which is a really good thing and helpful. So when you're climbing on ladders, you're making sure it's safe and things like that. So part of that is that, we have that built in to protect ourselves. Your experience on the roller coaster is a feeling of being out of control. And you had an experience that basically taught you that it's dangerous or scary. So the idea is that we, in order to work toward your goal, to be able to, summer's coming up, and I imagine you're wanting to take your kids to the fair this summer, and to be able to ride those rides with them and not be the one left out, that would be the end goal. That's the 10, right? So, each week it's going to be advisable to maybe find a challenge each week to expose yourself to just a little bit out of your comfort zone, not a lot, because you're not trying to shock your system into things. You're creating more events that are safe, but that the more often you have them, the more your brain will relearn that it's not a dangerous situation. So you're saying, you gave the example of the railing at the mall. That's a 3 or 4 for you, but it's somewhat uncomfortable for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's like more like a 3 or 4. I was thinking originally it was maybe like a 5 or something, but like, yeah, it's something that maybe it depends on if I'm on the 3rd or the 4th floor. I don't know. When I get in there, like I'll look over it and if it's been a while since I've been there, that's still there. But I guess even like within that day, if I go in, I walk into a shop or whatever and I walk back out, sometimes I'm content because I satisfied that curiosity. I looked over, and I'm good till, the next time I go to the mall. But, if I come back out of the shop and I look over again, yeah, obviously it's not as bad as it was that first time walking over to look at it. It still kind of bugs me a little bit, but not as much.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest for this week that there's a place in the mall that, if you, like in the food court, if you remember, there's a place where they have tables next to glass railing where you can basically see over, but it's protected, for you to go and have lunch there and to spend some time just sitting there without looking over, but just being there and getting used to that. Is that something that you would feel that you're up to the challenge to try this week?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I told my wife, I was told I should go to the mall, she would jump on that, especially if she gets lunch out of it too. So,
okay.
yeah, I can totally
so
do
maybe trying that this week, and then we can touch base and decide maybe what the next step is, see where you're at on that scale, if it's gone down at all for you, and then we can adjust from there and see what would be the next step to help you work toward your goal. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Sounds like we have some good goals, and I appreciate your openness and working on this. So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your willingness to take my money for your help. So that's great.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you.